Hello, everyone. This is Tony Geraci, broker and owner of Century 21 HomeStar. I'm here live in our headquarters in sunny tropical Cleveland, Ohio. And here I have a special guest with us today that's going to give us some tips and some ideas on how to better our business in 2019. Hopefully 2018 was great for all of you. So I brought in a special guest to give us some really good information. So our special guest today is Nick Bailey, the CEO and president of Century 21 across the globe, in over 127,000 agents, over 9,700 offices in 82 countries. So Nick, thank you very much for your time today. I appreciate that.
My pleasure, Tony. Always great to hang out with you.
Well, great. Well, I thought that you could really, with all the agents and brokers and offices you come across, you could really give us an idea of some great things. So I have three good things to talk about, and you can take as much time as you want, and we could elaborate on. But one thing today is just simple things that agents can do. You know, we take classes on so many classes on how to implement so many things that are long things that take a while to implement. But simple things that they can change that could increase their business next year. Another thing is should they invest in any type of lead generation online like Zillow, Realtor.com, things like that. And lastly, the last question of the day is what great things are coming to all of our Century 21 agents and Realogy brand agents, and what's coming around down the road that help everybody with their business. So first question, go ahead, take it away.
Yeah, thanks. I love how you intro this because you're spot on, which is what are simple ways on how to increase the business. I think that what I see, and I get the luxury of traveling and visiting with successful agents and brokers all the time. It's what I get to do every single day, and it's the best part of what I do is get to spend time asking questions. What's making the business successful? What are the roadblocks out there? And what I find most of the time is people overcomplicate it.
Right.
And so some of the things that I'll share with you today may sound overly simplistic, but I think sometimes we overcomplicate the business. So first and foremost, I get this asked a lot by new agents, but I think it applies to seasoned agents as well, is where should I be spending my time? I know as an agent that I've been licensed over 22 years and listed and sold real estate myself. And so a lot of what I've learned over these couple of decades, I wish I knew when I'd started, which is first and foremost, spend time with people that want to buy or need to sell every single day. Those are money-making activities. But because this business is, you're the CEO of your own company as an agent, you're jack of all trades, master of none, whatever cliche you want to put around it. And there's a lot of distractions. Maybe I need to input something in the MLS. Maybe I need to make a postcard. Maybe I need to get the car washed or drop off the dry cleaning or organize my files. None of those are money-making activities. Granted, they might be essential to the business, but I see agents all the time. They'll say, gosh, I had a great day. I worked 10 hours today, but they were not in front of anyone that wanted to buy or needed to sell.
Right.
Every single day, you should be in front of someone that wants to buy or needs to sell. And get up every day finding out who that is. And literally at the end of the day, if you physically haven't been in front of someone that has one of those two needs, you didn't do any money-making activities today. And as we know in our business, the way prospects become home shoppers become buyers and sellers, all of it is a delayed reaction. And so if you're not in front of someone today, that is going to show 30, 45, 60 days from now. So that's first and foremost.
Have you seen anything new or anything interesting or something you've come across like, wow, I never thought about how to network and getting in front of those type of people? You know, the real estate's been around for hundreds of years, but what has agents been doing recently differently?
Well, one, we all know real estate's local, period. And you've got to be involved with your sphere. The vast majority of top producers, there's common themes. One, those that go after listings are always the top producers. When you look at C21's top list of top producers and award winners, generally speaking, if you ask them, over 60 or over 70% of their business, if not even more, comes from being a great listing agent. Now, I believe buyers are going to have a chance in 2019. I think we're starting to see things even at the local level shift into more of an equilibrium. My advice to agents, your hair's not on fire. You're not going to the unemployment line. The market is not crashing. We have phenomenal pent up demand for housing and still very low inventory rates. But we also have to be able to be working with buyers. But don't forget, master the art of listings. That's where
Right.
top producing comes from.
Right. And I remember, I mean, we've both been around 20 plus years and been through the crashes of 2008, 9, and that era there. But I noticed that over half of the realtors that are licensed right now have been licensed only 10 years. A lot of them haven't seen a downturn. Do you have anything suggestions to those agents to not prep themselves like something's going to happen, but just to, keep the pace. And there's always a piece of the pie. There's always, no matter what market it is, good, bad, great, there's always a piece.
Right. And you even look at the downturn, we were still selling 4.7 million transactions. This year will be around 5.5 million. Next year will be 5.5 million. So it just depends on where you find your clients. And I was just talking with someone an hour ago at lunch, an owner in my local area, and said average days on market are getting a little longer. And so listing agents are having to work harder. They're having to have dialogues with their sellers. But going back to the question before, spend time with obviously people who want to buy or sell. But the other part is one of my favorite books from years ago, especially as it relates to social media. When you look at statistically, repeats and referrals make up 27% of leads. Only 2% come from social media, according to surveys from this year. But yet I do think it's an important component. But the best book was Social Media is Like a Cocktail Party.
Oh.
And we all have friends like this. It would be like if I bring a stack of business cards into a cocktail party and I'm that guy just walking around handing them out saying, I'm Nick, I'm with Century 21, I sell real estate. People will be like, dude, get away from me. He's the creepiest guy at the function. But when you engage with people and you understand, Tony, what makes you tick, and you've got family pictures behind you on your credenza, you find out more about what's important. And you do the same way in social media, then it connects your sphere with using these social channels, which is obviously the modern way. But those that think that they can just go out and throw every new listing onto a social channel and say, hey, look at my new listing. It's like the person that every time they post, I know it's Tuesday night taco dinner and I have to look at what they made for dinner. I don't follow them anymore. The same thing happens in real estate. So we've got to treat our sphere as respectfully as we would in person, as we should online, and that's a big part of the business. And we'll get into leads in a minute. But I think as people look at one thing they should keep in mind too, 90% of clients at the closing table say they'd use their agent again, but only 9.5% do.
Right.
Because we do a terrible job keeping in touch. Right. So here's the other thing, that as the market shifts, and we've talked about a little bit about it, mark my words, coming into the second half of 19, agents been swatting leads away because leads are everywhere. There's going to be 100 million of them this year in our business. And yet they're going to look as the market shifts a little bit and say, oh my gosh, I need more leads.
Right.
Recommendation number one, get every single lead, potential lead, past client into a database now. And agents typically don't have the discipline to do that type of work. I didn't. So I'm not throwing stones. I just know it's the reality of what we like to do and what we don't like to do as agents. Get every single person in a database, because at some point you're going to need them to start marketing to. And when you have 80% of people that used their previous agent use somebody else, because they're not communicating with them. Right. Oh, and so going back to your point, these are easy things. But do these easy things and you'll see it turn into business. Right.
And a little plug for the Preferred Client Club.
Great example of keeping in touch.
Agents that say every year 3 or 4 transactions a year they get because of that. So hopefully that stays around forever. It's been around since I've been with Century 21 about 15 years now, so hopefully forever. But that's a good program there.
It is. But agents also have to keep in mind that autopilot is good, but being intentional on follow-up is better.
Oh, yeah.
And so I ran across an agent a couple of weeks ago. I was speaking at an event, and they came up and said, gosh, I had a pretty good fall, but things seem to get pretty quiet. And I said, guess what? Go right now, this afternoon, and I want you to call 10 past clients. Tony, how are you doing? I know we haven't spoken in probably a year and a half. Wanted to check in, see how you're doing. Anyone have any real estate needs? And by the way, do you know anyone that needs to buy or sell? Call 10 people. If you don't end up with 3 clients out of that, of someone saying, my neighbor, my cousin, my son's parents, there will always be a connection, but you've got to ask for the business. And that type of intentional contact with your sphere is how you get more business. Yes, preferred client club and sending out magazines and market updates, that's good, but you got to be intentional on follow-up.
Can I tell you a quick story about how I learned that really quickly about following up with your clients, and also potentially following up with your listing, the people that moved into your listing. I sold a house early 90s he moved to Cleveland, the old talk show host, Mike Douglas. You remember that? Way before your time. So when I say Mike Douglas, everybody goes, what, the actor? No, the old talk show host. So he was moving to Cleveland, and his parent, or one of his daughters, is friends with my parents. So we got us in. There's actually 3 agents that were showing them houses around the area, and I actually luckily showed them the one that they wanted. And I followed up with him, and 3 years later, I saw his house go back on the market with the same listing agent. And I learned right away that I kept in contact with them, but I might not have been contacting them in the way they viewed me as a buyer's agent, not as a listing agent. So I tell that to agents in the example, if you have a listing, that buyer, you should keep in touch with that. And I know that agent kept in touch with them, even though that wasn't her client. And they viewed her as more of a listing. She knew the house. She was the listing agent before, and they wanted to list it again. They went right to her. They didn't call me. So I tell agents, stay in touch with your listings. Put them on the preferred client club. Their buyer's agent maybe might be out of the business 3-4 years from now, or 7 years from now, when they want to sell. So they know about the house. That's not your client at the time, but stay in touch with everybody. Stay in touch with your buyers. Stay in touch with your listings and who moved in. And you could probably pick up that listing again maybe someday when they're ready to move, because they're...
Well, there are 2 key things that you mentioned in there. And one is cater the message to the audience. So make sure in your database that you've got sellers or homeowners, because you should be delivering what's your home worth and talking that track. With your potential buyers, you should be talking about inventory levels and interest rates and affordability. And so if you're intentional, going back to that intentional contact, that's what's going to resonate with that individual. If I happen to be a home seller and you're a previous agent or want to be my agent, and all you're sending me is buying information, like you did when I was a buyer in your example, I tune it out. So the content has to be relevant. But the other part is exactly right. When you go to the closing table, only 6% of listings are double-ended. Only 17% are double-ended within the same company. So 94% of the time, an agent is sitting in a deal with another agent that they're co-oping with.
Right.
But they only retain the client that they're working with in their database.
Right.
Every time you sit at the closing table, you should treat both of those clients and get their contact information in your database and market to them as either homeowner or potential buyer in the future, or both. And it reminds me of the days when I used to sell real estate, and if it wasn't my listing and I was representing the buyer, the listing agent would go to the closing table, take their check, go over to the house, take the yard sign out, and disappear. And I would always ask the buyer, hey, do you mind if I put my sign in the yard with my sold writer? Because I sold it on behalf of you. And used to drive listing agents crazy, because as they were driving out of the neighborhood, I was putting the sold sign with my name on it in the yard. And this is the same type of concept of knowing that 80% of the time a previous client won't use their agent in the past. You need to be marketing to both.
I tell that exact same thing to our agent. Put your sign up with the sold on it, and everybody in the neighborhood remembers the last sign out there. So
that's right.
It drives listing agents crazy. We've had some complaint. So anything else you could think of before going on to leads and Zillow and all of that?
Well, I think I should have started with this. We are right at the time when you're coming into a new year. Set really big goals. A lot of agents have heard me talk about BHAGs, big, hairy, audacious goals. And earlier this year in 18, we set out 2 for the company. One, to double transactions in 5 years by 2022. And the other is to be the most sought after real estate brand in the industry. And when you hear that, people respond and say, wow, that's a huge goal, double in 5 years. But I look and say to an agent out there, if you had 20 transactions this year, in 5 years from now, can you get to 40? I mean,
Definitely.
add 3 or 4 transactions a year.
Definitely. Right.
Absolutely. And if your goals are not that lofty, this is going to be a tough business for you. But
Exactly.
I also have seen this in my lifetime. When I see people put huge stakes in the ground for big goals,
Mm-hmm.
vast majority of the time people meet them. Be
Yeah.
obsessed with it. And I have a saying that a written goal is a goal half achieved. So right now is the time. Everyone says, "Oh, I did X amount. I did 100,000 in commissions this year. I want to do 200,000 next year." But
Mm-hmm.
literally on the wall or their desk or their credenza, does it say 200,000? And they're
Mm-hmm.
benchmarking and tracking it every single month.
Mm-hmm.
Write it down. Now is the best time to set goals. Don't make it complicated. In fact, I had a story about my wife years ago. We met a neighbor, and she's a musician, and she wanted a grand piano. And he said, "Don't just visualize it. Print out the one that you want and hang it somewhere you have to look at it every day."
Right.
And with 8 months, she got the grand piano that she wanted. She visualized it. She became obsessed with the goal. It was what she wanted, and she figured out how to do it.
Do you think the goals, of course, you have your listing goals, your sales goals, and your ultimate goals for income earned, but should they start with goals like how many contacts, how many people am I going to be in front of each day? Because you can't get to those goals if you don't start with the process. Like I would say, if you want to get in shape, you can't have a goal. I want to be in shape, but you gotta go do something first. You gotta have daily goals.
I think you back into it. And using your analogy, like if I want to drop to 8% body fat, that might be the goal. And I have to figure out how much can I lose on a weekly, monthly basis. I think you back into it and say, if I earned $100,000 and I want to do 200,
Right.
and maybe 50% of my business is listings. Maybe I want to take it to 75. How many listings or sellers do you have to be in front of? And what's your ratio? Every time you're sitting in front of a seller, do you get the listing 50% of the time?
Mm-hmm.
Or do you get it 100% of the time? If you get 100% of the time, it's really easy. You just knew you need to double your number, and that's where you're going to be. But if you have a 50% ratio that you lose half of the sellers that you're in front of, figure out how to get it to 75, or you know that you're going to have to be in front of 4 times as many people to double your goal. You can back into those numbers, but keep in mind, most agents don't like math.
That's true.
I mean, let's admit it. And this isn't me throwing stones, because I'm an agent, don't forget. So they don't want to do that math. But if you set those goals, whether it be income goals, transaction goals, I also say in this business, it's not just about what you can do in selling real estate. It should be about personal goals too.
Right.
Maybe it's health, maybe it's family, maybe it's spiritual. Man, when you get that whole circle of saying, here's what's important, that's when I see people just achieve amazing things.
Right. And it just clicks. And that's what's nice. Every day, you have a system and everything in your life kind of clicks, which is really nice. It's hard to get to, but you know it when you got it there. So, but that's good.
Simplify it. Start simple, start easy, write down. Is it transactions? Is it income? Make sure it's written down.
And when I talk to agents, I don't know if you agree with this, but I say, how many, listings do you lose? And they go, well, every time I go get a list, go for a listing appointment, I get the listing. I go, well, obviously you're not going on enough listing appointments. If you're getting every single one, you got to keep on going while you're going. So many, there's a few no's in there. It's kind of making calls. You got to get a lot of no's. If you're not getting no's, you're not getting. It's kind of like referrals. Some agents say, hey, I got a lot of referrals. I go, how many do you actually call and ask for? Not that just called you. This usually I got 10 referrals this year or last month, and it's usually calls in, not calls out. You can imagine how many you would get if you called out.
You can't be afraid to ask for the business too. And, it's amazing. And I was guilty, Your Honor. I was terrible at it, whether it be at the closing table or pre-closing table, to say, Tony, this has been awesome working with you and your family. Do you know anyone else that's my business? I pride myself on being a referral agent. Because if you're willing to refer me to someone, I want to take just as good, if not better, care of them as I did you. Definitely. But it's amazing how often we're afraid to ask for the business.
Right.
To say, do you know someone that has real estate needs or might be interested in listing or selling? And it's amazing when you ask the question to consumers or to your sphere. Right. If they're happy with you, they cannot put you out there enough.
Exactly. Or if you have to ask for it, because they might forget to tell people I always say this is the biggest purchase of their lives. They're so excited moving to a new house, schools, kids, so many things to think of. Sometimes they forget to talk to people about you, unless by the way, someone says, "Hey, I'm buying a house too." And oh yeah, that's right. So you got to ask, and there's different times that you could ask. So,
and try it. If you haven't asked, it's uncomfortable, but you try it, you'll be amazed.
Right, definitely. Well, thank you for all of that. So what the next kind of question was about the online thing, the leads that are coming online through Zillow, and you have your experience at Zillow, Realtor.com. Do you have any suggestions if agents, because I get that question a lot from our agents, should I invest in this? And of course, I always go back to my personal opinion on what you were saying is that it's referral based, it's relationship based. That any successful agent is going to have that. You have to have that. You can't pay for leads your whole career and be successful in real estate. But should you do that? And what are your thoughts on that?
It's interesting. I ran into someone recently that said their first year in real estate, they bought leads and did over $200,000 in GCI, and 94% of it came from paid leads. So can you be successful with that? Yes. Should you have to be for a lifetime in this business? No. So here's what I think. And of course, knowing that I have a background and worked for Zillow, whether it be the Zestimate or leads or people love them, hate them, everything in between. They steal our data and sell our leads back to us. I get every question out there.
I'm sure.
First and foremost, here's how I look at it. The portals right now have the biggest online audience. You need to be part of it.
Right.
It's like asking us, Tony, you can go in this ballroom that has 1,000 people interested in buying, or this one that has 5. Which would you pick?
Right.
Give me the 1,000.
Right.
And so we get caught up, we get emotionally charged, because we are emotionally charged animals as agents in this business, on why and how they entered our business. No. Let's just stop and look at the facts. One, they have the largest online audience. So put your listings out there. They're free.
Right.
When I sold real estate, I don't know a classified ad or a Homes magazine that allowed me to put my listings in there for free.
Right.
In front of a huge audience. So you've got an opportunity, your listings out there, make sure they look fantastic. The pictures are great. Your picture's good. Your ratings and reviews. Let's talk about those. Ratings and reviews are creating customer engagement, more so in real estate. You ask anyone, do you use Yelp? Do you look at Google reviews before you go to a restaurant or engage in a service?
Right.
I use Yelp all the time.
Oh, me too.
Constantly, and I've had good luck. But we're living in a time when we as consumers believe what perfect strangers say about us more than what we say about us.
That's true.
Best time to ask for a rating and a review, like with a buyer, is when they're happiest. Don't wait for the closing table.
Right.
When they call and you get to say they accepted your offer, ask them if they'll do a review for you.
No, definitely. That's right. Because I see so many times the things that are out of the agent's control, and then they take it out on everybody else, unfortunately. If the title company does something wrong, the other agent fees are not there, the seller left something there, whatever, they take the whole experience that's out of your control and then rate. So thank you. I never thought of that. So see?
Ask them when they're happiest. And they're, what are they going to do? It's under contract. They're not going to do it for you. They'll do it for you.
Right. Right.
And so you can use Real Satisfied, through our system, and you can manually push it to them. You don't have to wait for it to automatically happen at closing. So that's ratings and reviews important. Second, let's talk about leads. If you're putting your listings out there for free, you're going to likely get some leads off of them.
Sure.
If you decide to pay for leads, here's the deal. You've got to be committed to the process, and you have to be really good at it. The agents that I usually see churn through lead spend are those that say online leads suck. Every agent says it. These leads suck. They're horrible. I have a saying for this. The quality of the lead is determined by the quality of the response.
Right.
If a lead flows into me right now and I respond within seconds versus minutes or hours, the chances of getting engagement from the consumer are very, very high. Sure. Even if 5 minutes goes by, the way it reduces in terms of the chance of a consumer responding get cut significantly minute by minute. Definitely. Here's another helpful hint. Respond to leads with video.
No.
I'll sit in a room of 500 people and I'll say, how many of you use email, text, or phone to respond? Every hand goes up and I say, keep them up. How many of you respond via personalized video? The last audience I had just a month ago, every single hand, 250 people went down. Not one of them in the room. A couple weeks before, I was in front of 600 agents. 3 hands in the room stayed up in video.
Right.
So the lead comes in and you fire this up and say, hey, Tony, it's Nick over here at C21. Understand you want to see 123 Maple Street. Happy to set up a private showing, or keep in mind I can show you any other home, or maybe give you insight to homes maybe not yet on the market.
Wow.
That's your key tagline right there. Now you've got valuable information that maybe someone else doesn't have. But agents don't like to see themselves. They don't like to hear themselves. And I always joke and I say, do you know why agents don't use video? They don't like to hear themselves, see themselves.
Right.
You know how you look and sound on video?
Exactly, in person.
Exactly how you do on person. You've heard me say this before. And people chuckle, but you wouldn't believe there have been people that have done tests on using video and engagement, and it completely changes the consumer and their response to you. So one, get your listings out there. Biggest audience, make sure they look good, make sure your ratings and reviews, make sure if you get leads, you're responding fast, and use video.
Any video without prompting another company, or do you just put it on your phone and send the video from your phone?
You know, I'm a fan of BombBomb. I love them. I think they're great because you can see open rates.
I don't hear you say it first.
No, but you can see open rates and you can really get into video.
Right.
Here's the deal. Even if you don't want to spend, if you're not doing any video as an agent, before you go out and spend money, here's what I'd say. Every one of your devices has a video, and you're texting people about leads anyway. Try diffusing the native feature of the device. Fire it up, selfie video, and send it out via text, and see if it creates engagement from the consumer.
Right. Oh, that's great. Yeah, BombBomb I use is very mobile, very good. So
it's awesome. Yeah, they're awesome.
A funny quick story. 14 years ago, there was a great guy with Century 21, John Segrillo. I don't know if I think he left before you came in, but he used to train brokers and companies and go around. And when I came in the system 14 years ago, he thought it was so neat that in my voicemail, I said, for a quicker response, you could text message me.
Right.
And so he would go across the country and text me, Tony, don't pick up your phone. I'm in front of like 100 brokers and agents. I want to show them what you have on your voicemail. So, I mean, how things have changed. We went from 14 years ago, people were like, text messaging, what's that? And now we're sending videos across on our phone. So things are changing so much that we don't realize, it wasn't like this. I actually I was a presenter at a conference, Century 21 conference, when the first iPhone came out. I said, look at this device. Someday people are going to drive around and they're going to be able to see it on a map on their phone. They're like, what? So, that was 15 years ago.
And that's single digits on the number of years ago.
Right, exactly.
We're not talking 1928 when you were born.
No, exactly. No, that's it.
Well, but here's the other thing in terms of text. Here's one from my buddy Jared James called Who Dis, he calls it, which is, it's interesting. A lead comes in and as agents, we just want to give out all the information.
Right.
Hey, Tony, it's Nick at C21. I'm the best agent and I can show you the house and it has 3 bedrooms and 2 baths and we just, I do this. I love doing it every time I speak now is I send a text to a number and they obviously don't have me in their contacts.
Right.
And I say, is this Tony?
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't believe in seconds. Generally, people come back and say, yes, who's this? Who dis?
Oh, wow.
And now all of a sudden you've got someone engaged. So when agents say, by the way, yeah, I respond to leads, but they never contact me back, try your approach different. Use video or send them, is this Sharon?
Right. Or you can throw in,
yes, who's this?
You say, before I send you this important information, is this Tony? Well, I want to know what this important information is. So
keep it short. Is this Tony? Yeah.
All right. I got 2 good things. A
couple of things on leads. Now, if you're going to move into paying for leads, which is just pouring gas on the fire, those that do it and do it well, that get into double-digit conversion rates, it's because they've got the system around it.
Right.
Which is you're responding quickly, you're putting them in a database, you're marketing to them, and you're not expecting instant results. Those people that go out and spend $1,000 or $2,000 on leads and 30 days later say, this doesn't work.
Yeah.
You've got to be in it for the long haul. And those that go in and spend money and then a lead comes in and they don't respond for 5 minutes or 8 minutes. I mean, what you're going to start seeing, and I tell brokers this all the time, if leads are coming into your company and you're sending them to the listing agent for 10 minutes,
Right.
then if the listing agent doesn't answer, it should go to someone else. I say, no, it's dead on arrival.
Right.
And this is where consumers and agents, we have clash in our business right now.
Right.
Because listing agents will say, well, it's my listing. I should deserve to have that lead come in and I'll get to it. Well, the problem is, as a consumer, you're not waiting. You're not waiting on anyone, whether it's the listing agent, whether it's a buyer's agent.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me of when I sat floor duty. Do you guys have floor duty anymore?
No.
Some companies still do.
We have what we do virtual. I call it virtual floor duty through our lead router system and our Zap. So it rotates. So not picking up the phone. So we do have it. It's just, all automated now.
Yeah. And some companies still have where you'll sit for floor time.
Mm-hmm.
And think about it. It's interesting because when I used to sit 3.5 hours, I take the morning shift on a Thursday and do floor time. If someone walked into the office interested in one of your listings, I didn't say, hang on, let me go find if Tony's where he is, out selling real estate or in the office. You just handled the client.
Right, exactly.
Immediately. Or you also didn't say, hey, if you could sit down for 45 minutes, someone will be with you. They'd get up and leave. And so it's an old school example for some of our seasoned agents out there that if you ever worked floor time, the minute someone called or walked into the company, you took immediate care of them in seconds. And so for those that invest in online leads, whether they get them free, whether they pay to get them, if they treat them the exact same way, that they're coming in a digital environment, but you're going to handle them in a Ritz-Carlton manner in seconds, you're going to see conversion rates.
Oh, definitely.
And you don't let them sit. And some of the best things that I've seen are what's called jump ball broadcast. Leads come in and they ring 5 different agents at the same time, and the first person that answers gets it.
Right.
Drives agents crazy, especially listing agents. But guess what? There's a hot consumer on the other end of the line saying, I want to talk to someone now, and I don't care who it is.
Oh, definitely. Well, as long as someone that could take care of them and it's going to look out for them, that's what they're looking for. And then when I talk to our agents that are purchasing leads and investing in leads, I have to remind them too that like we were thinking about or saying before about the referrals. They're like, well, I had this many sales out of it, but is there another level? Did you get 2 referrals out of this one lead? Mm-hmm. There should be a trickle down effect to those leads there. I think a lot of them, I don't know if there's any statistics or numbers or anything you see out there of agents keeping track of actually how much money they made the downline to a lead that they got.
Some do. I don't have a stat on that. I mean, the stats I talk about are 47% of leads go without a response and only 24% get one response or less. And so you've got the vast majority that don't get a good response. You also, if you answer within 1 minute, have over a 90% chance of connecting with the client. But what's interesting is if you don't hit them on the first time, the vast majority of agents don't respond again. And so now you're down to only 34% of the time where you get the client on the first contact. But if you hit him 7 more times, that goes up to 94%. So there's also that discipline to stick with it. Stick with the leads, don't give up on them, and use creative ways like we talked about, text or video, and keep marketing to them in a database. Those are the agents that I hear say, yeah, I invest and I get 200% return on my investment because they're doing all of those things.
Is it still the statistic about 6 to 8 months when people are starting to look before? Have you seen that statistic recently?
I've seen it be the 9 to 12 to 15 months is what you continue to hear. But it depends on the lead. In low inventory markets and instant alerts where you get something in the right price range,
they want it now.
You're still getting multiple offers, and it's the fastest agent wins that gets to the client. So I think it also depends a little bit on price range, but I still think respond fast. The agent that scares me though on investing in leads is, well, I'll try it.
Yeah, you shouldn't try it then. So
I just had a big closing and I'm going to go ahead and spend $1,000 a month and I'll give it a try.
Right.
Nah. That scares me to death. You're not set up for a return because I don't think you've got a systematized online lead business.
Definitely, definitely. Well, that's a lot of good stuff there for that. I appreciate that. What do you now? Last question of the day. I know you're very busy. Don't want to take up too much of your time. What do you see overall in the industry? You know, I'm always watching the getting different articles from Inman and all of that, and I'm watching the forward that Realogy has of all the different technologies coming in. What are you seeing overall technology-wise, or things that might be help agents with their business? Because again, we just went over, you know, it's networking and leads and relationships, but maybe something's coming around they're building, and then of course specifically for Century 21 and or Realogy brands, what's coming along too. So
yeah,
anything you can watch for?
Great question there. A couple of things. One is, we know this. There's consumer technology, and then there's agent productivity technology. And on the consumer side, consumers want to have a great experience in searching and shopping. We also know that I don't believe anyone in the industry has solved home shopping to close really well. Once people go under contract, and I've talked about it a lot, feels like you get the lights shut out on you.
Right.
Or shut off on you. Buyers and sellers, it's anxiety ridden. They don't know when's the appraisal come in. Why do I have to get more financial information or bank statements to the lender? And it just becomes anxiety ridden. And the consumer is relying on email, text, and phone call to interface with their agent. And so we've really had a lot of discussion about, one, the consumer's experience that aligns with our mission statement to deliver extraordinary experiences, because the better we can make the experience, ideally, we would never want a buyer or seller to transact in real estate without a Century 21 experience.
Right.
And that's where we want to take this, and it's tech enabled to where consumers can use their device in a mobile world to interface with their transaction and their agent in a single point. The same thing happens with productivity. Agents don't want to log into 6 systems or 8 systems to do their business. We were just talking about how we started here. You can't keep track of your passwords.
Right.
That's the life that we're all living. And so we're really trying to commit to how we can have mobile first technology for agents that really allows the process to go from lead to close. And I know we hear that a lot. It's a little cliche, but makes the experience a lot better for agents. And that means opening our systems. And so, for example, I'm sure you've got agents out there that use our technology suites or Business Builder. They use the Zap product. Terrific. I know you also have agents that maybe use Market Leader for a CRM. They might use Boomtown. They might use Conversion or Contactually. There are a number of them out there. Well, the idea should be we should be able to open our system via APIs and allow agents that are using various systems to fully integrate into the tech stack. So what we're working on in 2019 that you'll hear more about coming up at 121 is, what does the next generation of tech stack look like for the brand and the system? And so behind the scenes, lots going on with how do we streamline a lot of this? Because at Century 21, we've got we've got 2 of everything in so many ways. We've got a couple CRMs. We have a couple of marketing centers, 2 ways to get ratings and reviews. And what I think we need to do much better is streamlining, so it's not 8 logins and it's one nice complete system that works for agents lead to close, but also it opens it to say, if you're using something else, you can still tap in and play in the system. And so that's what we're really on to and where we're focusing for 19.
Okay, great. That's awesome. That's good news. And I'm getting excited for our 121 event in March. And for many years, I've been waiting for a one Realogy, everybody together type of event too. So excited about that too.
Yeah, and we just launched that one of the keynotes will be the Property Brothers.
Yes.
Most people are familiar. That's cool to have them, and Imagine Dragons as the entertainment. But yeah, we'll have a day that is pulling all the different Realogy brands together. And some people have said, gosh, why would you want to do that? That's strange. But when we're sitting in Grand Garden Arena with 15,000 people that sell real estate, realize that we actually have more in common than we do different. And you can rub shoulders with the best in the business, but then we'll also have our dedicated time, just 121, that's just us, that will focus on things that are unique to our culture and unique to our brand. And so I believe the way it's being laid out, that it'll be the best of both.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, everybody gets together for the NAR conventions and Inman and all of that. So it's just, you know, I thought it was just going to be better to have more people there, more experience, more networking, more ideas. So very excited about that. So, well, thank you very much for your time. Wow. I got a couple notes here and things that I'm going to implement right away with our agents too. More
Awesome.
along, I thought I was going to go over some things and everybody's going to think I thought I knew everything. After 26 years.
Tony, let's be truthful. None of these are my ideas. These are me going into the field and hearing best ideas from agents, and I just get to talk about them. So take it and run with it. They're all your ideas.
That's exactly it. As I've learned so much I started this office 20 years ago, and being with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of agents in our office and the things that they're experiencing they're doing. You know, I can't use every technology. I can't use every idea. I've taken so many classes and coaches and this and that. There's so many things that I've done and taken a little bit pieces, but you always pick up something new. So to any agents that are watching, take classes, go onto YouTube, search coaches and this and that. You're going to pick up something new. And I've seen Nick, I've seen almost every single convention and meeting and things that all the brokers were together. I've seen every one of you, but there's a couple things you told me here that I didn't see in those. So.
Yeah, and a lot of them I repeat. Video, I'm just hounding. You'll hear me continue to talk about video because unfortunately it's not widely adopted because people are scared of themselves. But it's one of those that it is changing the dynamics of engagement in our business. So I will keep talking about video until it's more widely adopted. And by then, it'll be something else new.
Maybe some of the agents are realizing that the picture on their business card doesn't equal the video sometimes.
Hey, I'm not going there. I'm not going there.
Well, thanks, Nick. Thanks for everything. We'll see you in March, and I appreciate your time. Hopefully, a lot of agents took a lot out of this today, and hopefully they'll better their business next year. So
thank you as well. You run one of our best companies, and so they're lucky to have you. So thank you for everything that you do.
Great. Well, thanks to all of our agents. I enjoy helping every single one of them with their business every day. I really do appreciate them being with us and part of Century 21. So, all right, Nick, have a good one. We'll see you soon.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.